I have been putting off getting an electric car. It's just the electric cars that existed that were out there, they just didn't speak to me. Obviously that's changed, and you see this thing sitting right here. It's kind of my dream specification of what to me was the most exciting, emotional electric car that has come out yet. This right here is the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Why was I attracted to this? Well, obviously it's very fast. There is something about the driving position, the steering feel, the racing heritage. It's a driver's car. This is the Carrera White with basically as many carbon or black accents as I could put on it. The way I modeled this one was as close to possible as the Mission E concept on which this one right here was based. You see all the black along the top where the roof is. This is all glass along top. We have the tints on the window as well to create that two-tone black effect. You can see the black and white on the charge cap. It's very science fiction. Now, you can charge on either side of this car on your typical home outlet. This one on this side has an extra little door for an even faster charge. One of the fastest in the industry if you do happen to find one of Porsche's super advanced chargers. You can see the carbon accents down here on the bottom as well. This rear tailpiece, that is another custom configurable component which allows you to remove the color there and have this kind of clear look to this tail strip, which when you hit the brakes goes completely red. And then there's more carbon in the tail section as well. What I did is I actually color matched this interior ring to the color of the car. That kind of pays tribute to the concept vehicle, which this one is so similar to actually. You have a lot of control over all elements of the car, so it makes it a fun experience. Obviously, you have to wait for them to make it in Germany, but it is a fun experience. You can see the windows are frameless over here, and the interior is in this red color. It's a little special to go with some kind of alternative interior. To me, this is kind of a supercar. I was thinking, well, why not have some fun with the interior and do something different so that you're reminded when you're sitting inside that you're inside of something special. The seats have a tremendous amount of configuration, as you can kind of see with all the little knobs and dials on the side. You can get these 18-way seats, fine-tune the lumbar, plus the amount of bolstering and the headrest, and it's just a lot of configuration for comfort. It's powered. You can open and close it from inside or outside. That gives you an idea for scale. Those seats do push down, so if you need to store or get longer items in there, lay it in there, it's no problem. But it is powered from inside or outside. It's a simple one button push, and then the thing comes down and closes up. Yeah, I just got a car wash, so we got water. That's actually a fairly decent space right there. You got a spot for washer fluid. That's pretty much it. Electric vehicle. That's the way it is. But I think in most cases, you're gonna use the trunk more often than the front, but you've got it there because it's another electric vehicle trick that you have. All right, so like I said, I've driven other Porsches and they found a way to deliver that inside of this vehicle, even though it's an electric vehicle, even though it's got 4 seats and 4 doors on it. It feels like a race car when you get into it. This is all about screens. That's the way it's going now. It's very few knobs and dials and buttons. The steering wheel still has some really useful buttons. Little volume wheel on the left-hand side over here, which is actually really useful because otherwise you're stuck with this haptic screen to control almost everything, which is cool, but some people, myself included, appreciate some dials to be able to interact with. So you do have some physical buttons on the steering wheel, including this drive mode selector, and drive modes play a huge role in every Porsche vehicle, including this one. There's a significant difference in the way that the car behaves from normal to sport plus to range to your own individual setting. It will adjust things like the chassis and the stiffness, the height of the vehicle. I mean, you can see there's 4 different height settings: lift, regular, lowered, and low. And those are all available to you, whether you're pulling into a driveway or if you're in full performance mode and you want the maximum aero effect of the low setting. There's also some stuff which is kind of, I guess, a little bit of fun, like the electric sport sound. This gives you an almost a kind of a Star Wars speeder type of sound. There's also recuperation. Now, this is essentially your regenerative braking. This is, of course, going to increase your range. Some people don't like it, though, because it feels like, well, you're braking without braking, right? When you take your foot off the accelerator, then you're feeling this brake effect without having touched the brake. So some people like it, some people don't. It depends what you're looking for. If it's range you're looking for, or if you want it to feel more like a gas car, you might turn that off. And then there's a tremendous amount of assistance: park assist, lane keep assist, lane change assist, intersection assist. There's a tremendous number of sensors on this car, but they're all to indicate things to the driver as opposed to making decisions on its own like an autonomous setup. But those smarts do pay off in certain circumstances where that extra information can help you make a quick decision. You can see a 360-degree around the vehicle. We can select any one of these cameras to catch a better view of and see the car inside of this space. Woo! Woo! Woo-hoo. Now it's real. Now I really own the vehicle because I removed all the plastic. Sweet. Passenger display can display anything, actually. You could have the navigation open. You could be looking at the media, for example, selecting between the various media sources. I think navigation is the coolest input for the passenger because they can set a destination while you're driving. You know, sometimes the nav shuts down when you're driving, says wait till you slow down. Well, your passenger can be helpful and actually stick something into the nav or just DJ. So that's kind of the usefulness of that particular display. Now, as far as the main display is concerned, there's a couple different ways you can interact with it. I can just reach up and touch it like I just did there, but also this is a trackpad. This part of the screen right here, as you can see up on the main one, I can move about without reaching all the way up. So it's kind of crazy that you require secondary input so close to the main input. And it's haptic, so it has some feedback. It has a little vibration. It's actually a pretty thick vibration feeling over there. You can also click this button here, which gives you your current charge level and range. This is by no means the range champion of electric vehicles. It's probably the performance champion as of right now. Range, on the other hand, you can see here 96% charge, 320 kilometers to give you an idea of what to expect. You can also see the LTE connection here. So this thing is connected to the internet as well, independent of your smartphone. So there's a SIM card in there. Oh, the sound system is another option in this vehicle. It's the Burmester sound system. It's an expensive upgrade. Well, it's definitely the best sound system I've heard in any cars that I've owned. Now the car does have Apple Carplay. Believe it or not, Android Auto not supported yet. I'm not happy about that, but I think they're working on it. You can see the Apple CarPlay over here. It's actually very integrated. Without even connecting your phone, it will pair to your Apple ID and keep your music and your podcasts updated right on the native system. So this display up here, it's got this cool kind of curve to it. These buttons you can actually touch. So if I wanted to adjust the height of the vehicle, I could quickly touch there. If I want to adjust the suspension of the vehicle, I could quickly touch there. This is a custom configurable button that you can have do whatever you want. And the same goes on the other side. It's kind of cool the way they integrated haptic touch buttons into what looks like a giant display. The rest of it is a display. I can navigate to any one of these three circles and then click on it and switch between nav, trip, sport chrono, drive mode, media, or information. So if I selected media, then I would see my music playing there if I chose to. For this one, I actually like to have it on traffic signs the best. And then the center one, let's check out the night view assist. Now this puts night vision in the center. See, it knows that it's a person. For one, with the yellow outline, it has tracked it as a person, but look at the detail. You can see how he's glowing. It's so easy to sense a pedestrian with that feature turned on. even more so maybe than your eyes at night. So as far as compartments are concerned, you have these two cup holders right here. Now that ambient lighting actually is fully configurable, and it shows up in the door sills as well. I mean, there's pretty much any color that you want to have in there, plus the intensity is available to you. It's currently set to poppy red, but you can see you can select blue or lemon green or Atlantis, which is a type of teal. It's probably too much control over the ambient lighting, but that's in there. Little storage compartment here, which is not huge. You could put a couple little items in there. There is a wireless charger for your phone to sit upright. It's Qi compatible, and there's two USB Type-C connectors. Like I said, it's not a massive amount of storage there. Your power switch is over on the left-hand side here, giant power button. Here we go. It's official. I own this car. Oh, there's more. So the power button is there, although you don't ever really have to press it. When you enter the vehicle, it's ready to go, and all you have to do is just stick it into your reverse or whatever drive mode you want to head into immediately. Another thing I like about this vehicle is how much configuration you have over the seating position. I mentioned the 18-way adjustable seat. Also, the steering wheel itself, just a tremendous amount of play in there to get the perfect seating position. I like to have the wheel come far out towards me and kind of sit in this comfort zone right here and have the whole thing tightened all up. One more peel, one more peel. Boom. That's got to be our last peel. So I tap on this screen and you can see these climate controls come into play again for people who are sitting back here. Little storage bucket in the center as opposed to putting some hump type seat where no one's going to be comfortable. And then this little cup holder which comes down. What I like here is even though you're in the rear of the seat, you have this really aggressive, sporty looking back. So you still feel like you're taking part in the fast, speedy experience of being in the Taycan Turbo S. And the other thing I can't believe I haven't mentioned yet is this giant sheet of glass, which also seems to be a necessity on electric vehicles. It's not a hatchback, obviously. That's still some pretty decent cargo for most of the things I have to carry. When you consider the extra practicality, plus the fact that this one is electric, plus the fact that when you hit that pedal, the kick, I think they made the right choice as far as making that the practical model. But this is a real car you can use every single day and fit passengers and fit cargo, and it drives almost like a supercar. So that's kind of a special combination. You can select to have your key in the exact same paint color as the vehicle. So it's the Carrera white. It's just a nice little extra touch. Porsche often understates their 0 to 60 times for acceleration. They kind of record it in a real world scenario that many owners end up beating when they actually record their own times. But there are many serious race components to this vehicle that are kind of beyond the scope of a lot of electric vehicles. Look at this enormous ceramic brake system. There is an application for the vehicle. It's not as comprehensive as some of the competitors, but they are working on it. You can see this is what it looks like over here. The climate is configuring itself for my arrival. I can lock the vehicle. I can put the windows down if I choose to. I can see my current charge level. I can set profiles, my current range level, and also my various trips. You can also search for charge stations and set up routes and things like that. So what are all the components that you appreciate in a car? Is it strictly the electrification component, or is there an emotional component to it as well? Now I know Tesla has a tremendous fan base, and that emotional component is absolutely there. For myself, I saw this vehicle and then the emotional component kicked in. I think one of the criticisms I have of Tesla, which is that their vehicles are kind of maybe a little bit emotionless as far as the look is concerned. They're overly simplified, and look, that can be a cool thing depending on your own perspective. That can feel really futuristic, the way that they've designed the grille to not need any type of intake, to not look at all like a traditional car. Porsche did it a bit differently. This is kind of a little more traditional. It still feels a little bit more like a car, especially when compared to some of the super futuristic interiors like the Tesla Model 3, for example. But again, that's gonna be to everybody's personal taste and preference. I wanted a car that was emotional from a driving perspective, and I realize it's lacking tremendous amount of functionality on the software side with all of that autonomous stuff. That stuff is hard, and it's a whole different set of sensors, and it's a whole different software team. And Tesla is so far ahead of everyone else in that particular category that Porsche was just like, maybe let's not try yet. Maybe let's just do an electric version of some of the stuff that we're kind of currently doing and see how that goes. When I'm looking at this car, the way it drives and the way that it feels, for the time being, I want to drive it. I don't care so much about being driven, but for right now, for me, this just happened to be my preference. This just happened to have the emotional impact on me to finally pull the trigger on an electric vehicle. That is the Porsche Taycan Turbo S, and I do have to give a shout out to Porsche North Toronto, who helped me out with everything related to this particular vehicle. So shout out to Daniel, shout out to Graham. There you have it. That's gonna be the ride for a little bit.